Hello and welcome back to our podcast, Page to Mike, with your hosts, once again, Abby Albert and Charlotte Carroll.
Today we will be discussing the rest of the memoir, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings by Maya Angelou. We would like to give a welcome once again to this episode's guests,
Sophia Garcia,
Rebecca Chass,
James Sandland.
Now let's dig into it.
So, the last chapter we read was chapter 18, and in chapter 18, there was a big church sermon event in Stamps where all the different church groups came together to preach, I'm assuming, because I don't really know much about religion. But, so, I was wondering how important you think the church is to Stamps and, what community it builds for the people in Stamps.
I feel the church is important to them because it's like a place of connection and warmth for them with it's a contrast to how everything is for them outside in Stamps, because in Stamps it's pretty harsh for them, but in church I feel like it's a place for them to reconcile, to connect, and to just feel good, feel a bit of comfort.
Yes, I wanted to build off of James's idea because I also believe that the church provided an escape for the people as well as comfort, because for the people of color in Stamps, the church is a place where I feel like they could feel safe and proud of who they are. And I feel like when they're in church preaching, I feel like they feel free from the outside discrimination and how others view them.
I believe that the church is a sense of resilience. People are left with so little opportunities really often, especially through hard times like racism, which is going a lot in the book. To get a whole community together feeling connected with a sense of safety and support is basically all that a person could possibly need to just feel a sense of comfort and, feel like they're free from everything,
I think the church is important because it brings them all together, and how it basically feels like a second home, making them feel comfortable, and also how it separates them from the discrimination that's happening around them outside of the church. At first, I think Maya thought of her race as maybe not as superior as the white folks. But as she got older, she learns to love who she is and her race. And on that thought, how do you think Maya feels about the racism around her as she grows up?
I think in her early life, when she was young, below the age of 8, I don't think she really thought of it as racism, but more as two different worlds, because she was never around white people, but she knew of them and she never liked them. And then later in chapter 19, she digs into it more about how important it is for Joe. Yeah, Joe, the black fighter. It's so important for him to win, because if he lost, in her mind, she thought it would prove that they were back in slavery and that nobody could help them. And how people would think of them as lower human beings, and a lot of people would look more down on them if he lost. And then she also mentions that if people who came to listen to the fight in the store, if they were to leave at night, it wouldn't be safe for them to be caught on a back road at night if a white man lost to a black man. So she understands that it's not safe for them in a lot of areas in their town, just because of the anger most people feel.
I believe that in the beginning of her academic career, she encountered her teacher, which I believe that I don't quite remember the chapter, but her teacher basically, in my mind, he kind of showed a racial bias that she's not capable, showing her that she's not capable of achieving anything in life, which I had to bring up because as Maya grows up, I believe that she feels confused and scared about the racism that she's been experiencing from a young age. but I think she doesn't really understand why the white race is treated better than the black race. But I feel like she feels the pain around her because of the racism, and that it affects her very deeply.
I'm glad to see everybody is on the same page, because I believe how Maya feels about racism is that at first she was probably confused because of her innocence at the start of the book, because, well, obviously she was young. We can see that because of like the mixture of hurt and complete discrimination, and that of course could result in anger. But as we continue to read, as she got older, she matured, but also that means her feelings, that it made her more as a stronger girl, a stronger woman. And that can say a lot about what trauma and horrible things can do to a person, which has resulted her into finding self-acceptance.
I feel I agree with what everyone has been saying, because I do feel like that Maya in the beginning, like, she has no idea what racism even is and how it's like affecting everything. But as she grows and matures, she does seem to understand it a bit more. She understands like what it is, what it means, and like why people feel it. And like I just feel like she gets a better understanding of it the more she matures.
I think towards the beginning of the book, her thoughts about her race were like not so positive, in a way where she felt like she wanted to be like the white girls growing up. But as the book ended, she learned to love who she was as a person and embrace her community. And she showed that you could be whoever you want to be.
I think the racism in Stamps as she's growing up really plays into like the next chapter of her life and living in California with her mom, because Annie, their grandma, decided to move them because it was safer for them in California than it was in Stamps after Bailey found, or not after after he came across the man being pulled out of the river or the pond. I can't remember if it was a river or pond. And after he came across it, he had to help them move the body. So after Annie finds out about this, she thinks it's a lot safer for them to be in California instead with their parents. So that leads to Maya going to California, living with her mom, and then Bailey following soon after. And then after living with her mom for a while, she goes to visit her dad. So how different do you think the two households are? As in Vivian, their mom, and Big Bailey, their dad.
I believe there is quite a difference between Vivian's household and Big Bailey's household, because when Maya goes to live with her mother in California, I feel like Maya feels more supported and she starts building like more confidence for herself, because Vivian's household is like safe, stable, and organized. So I also think that that's where Maya like learns to be more responsible, but still has like that mother figure looking out for her. But then when Maya is with her dad, it's very chaotic. I feel like her dad is very distracted and like doesn't really like pay attention or supervise her well. And Dolores's jealousy that we see in the book, I feel like makes Maya like not want to like be there, and like I feel like she also feels that like she has no one to support her because of Dolores's jealousy.
I think you can really tell the difference in maturity between her mom and her dad, because when Maya's mom found out about her being attacked by Mr. Freeman, she like immediately got that guy out of their house, and like she was on it, and she was not playing around about her kid. But then when Bailey Sr. found out about Dolores literally stabbing his daughter, he wasn't nearly as urgent as he should have been. So it's like you can tell he's much less mature than her mom is, and much less stable than her mom is. So I think Vivian is definitely a lot healthier for Maya to be around.
Yeah, so piggybacking off of what Charlotte said about the situations of the different households, I think that Vivian is a better option for obvious reasons. And one of them being because of Big Bailey just leaving her all alone with Dolores, and that situation happened to just go out drinking and picking up new girls.
I feel when she was at her mom's house, she felt more like supported and that her mom was on her side. Like when she was at her dad's house, I feel like she just like kind of felt a little lost because her dad was just really irresponsible and kind of arrogant in some ways. Like her dad was always running off doing something else while her mom just supported her whenever she needed it.
I thought when Maya lived with her mother, she had more strength than she usually actually had and seemed way happier. Her sense of like independence helped her conquer her feelings about what she was going throughout the book. As for the dad, he was very unsupportive.
Ending that off, do we know that her dad is not very good? He sucks. He's a terrible parent. So how do you think her experience in Mexico with him, how do you think that like affected her view on him?
So what I would say for her experience in Mexico, it wouldn't be like the greatest because he just took her wherever he wanted to go, nowhere like where she wanted. Like he would take her to like bars, and then he got drunk and he like passed out, blacked out, and she actually had to drive him back to like I think it was back to the border, and she actually crashed the car. So yeah, so I feel like this like Mexico trip like really changed her perspective on her dad.
Okay, following up on the question where I called her dad chaotic, Mexico basically proves like why I thought he was chaotic, because when they went to Mexico, like Abby said, they went to the bars and he blacked out and he's like in the back seat, and like his daughter, I don't remember how old she was at the time, but like under 15 can't even get a permit, is driving the car back to the border and like crashes the car. So I feel like that chapter, I believe it was 36, something around 36, I believe that chapter basically like sums up why his household was like so chaotic and how he's like a deadbeat.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with what was previously stated. I feel like their time in Mexico just further proves his like ignorance as a parent and how irresponsible he is just in general. Because, I mean, going to bars and bringing your kid with you is just super irresponsible, especially when she's like 14. And I feel like that just affected her view on him. And instead of seeing him as some kind of role to look up to, she just kind of like looked down on it because of how horrible that experience was and what ended up happening to her and her father.
I believe that Maya would despise her dad for what happened during Mexico. If I were her, I would view my dad traitor-like, because how could someone be so irresponsible, even to their own daughter? It makes him a cruel person, and I believe Maya views him that way, especially after the whole stabbing incident. That was definitely crucial to her emotional development and how her views on her dad changed and how he can be like a father figure into something way different.
To finish off with that, thank you again for tuning in to this week's episode.
We hope you enjoyed, and we will see you next time.